Hi, guys. One time, I read a writer who said that human beings are really, really bad at noticing when things are good in their lives. It's always so easy to notice the bad times, and he suggested that when we have a night like tonight, a good time, we should take a second and we should think to ourselves, man, if this isn't nice, I don't know what is. When I found out I was invited by you all to speak today, I was incredibly flattered. I was a little confused, but I was flattered nonetheless. The first person I told was my wife, and she was excited for me because she's lovely and supportive and all those things. The second person I told was my mother. And when I told her, I said, Mom, the seniors invited me to speak at graduation, and she said, really? And I said, yeah. And she said, you? And I said, yeah. And she said, who was their first choice? Which I thought was a little bit mean, but I kind of get it, right? Like, I assume when you invite somebody to speak, you're hoping for a few things, right? I think that you're hoping that it's kind of short. I think you're hoping it's kind of funny. And then I hope that I'm guessing that you hope that ultimately, like, there's some nugget of wisdom that I can pass on to you. But the dirty truth, right? Like, the thing that my mom knows, and I know, and you are about to find out, is I have no wisdom to give you, right? So I racked my brains, I thought about it, and I tried to come up with something that I could tell you, like something that my little bit of additional time on this planet might be able to help you out with. And I came up with one thing, but I'm not totally sure if you're gonna like it, and it's this. School, like the path that you've been on for the last 13 years, is not like life. They're totally different. Your path in school has been linear, right? Like everything that you've done, you've known what comes next. Every step you've taken has led you to like here, tonight. And now, in a few minutes, you're gonna walk across this stage, and like on that side of the stage lies a different world. Like the game stops being linear and it turns into a totally open world with like this infinite amount of branching paths, and you are going to have to make decisions from time to time, right? Like decisions that have ramifications, decisions that have, you know, like that rule out other options, and decisions that have like a lasting effect on your life. So I hope that doesn't bum you out too much, but it does introduce a problem. The game that you're entering into is fundamentally different from the one that you're leaving, and me, like I, the person that you invited to see you on your way, don't know what I'm doing. Like, we've established this. So the question becomes, what do we do next? And I can only tell you what works for me. Like when I come to my own path, like my own fork in the path, I can only tell you what I do that helps. And it's a series of 3 observations. And that's all I've got for you today. The first observation: hard things are worth doing. You guys know this already. You know it in your bones. It's why we take AP classes. It's why we lift weights. It's why we show up for 5 a.m. practice. It's why we play our video games on Expert. It's why we date and eventually marry people who push us, who want us to be the best that we can be. When John F. Kennedy announced the Apollo missions, he famously said, "We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon, not because it is easy, but because it is hard." We look forward to obstacles with trepidation, but we look back at them with pride. It is the hard things in life that make us who we are. That's my first observation. My second observation: obituaries are different than wedding announcements. Every Sunday, I get the New York Times, and it's absolutely massive. They include like all the news that's fit to print over the course of the week, and one of the joys of my week is brewing a cup of coffee and luxuriating with the Times. And out of everything that's in there, my favorite thing to read every week is the obituaries. And this is why. I think obituaries are really cool. I think they're like this last moment for you on this planet to say what you want to say. Like it's this mic drop moment where you just get to walk away and say your piece, right? When you read the Sunday Times, you have pages and pages and pages of these obituaries of like these men and women that you've never heard of who've lived totally realized lives, like totally fulfilling lives, and you just get like this glimpse into them. Directly opposite the obituaries, though, are the wedding announcements. And the wedding announcements are different. When you read the wedding announcements, they are almost universally talking about the things that people have achieved. She's a CFO, he's the chairman of a board. She founded a startup, he's an executive chef. When you read obituaries, though, they don't talk about those things. They talk about communities, they talk about families, they talk about friends, and they talk about love. Don't get me wrong, we want you to achieve. Like, we want you guys to go out and realize your power and lead a life that you are proud of. But when you have a choice between bolstering your resume and bolstering your obituary, one of those things is better. One more observation for you, and it's about Muhammad Ali. First, though, I have a little bit of a grammar lesson, and I promise it's the last one that you're going to have in high school. Okay. In order for a sentence to be a sentence, it needs exactly two things. It needs a subject, and it needs a predicate. Like, it needs something to happen that sentence, and then it needs something to do that thing. This means that sentences can be kind of beautifully short, right? Like, Mr. Holshoe spoke, he finished, you graduated. The shortest sentence in the English language is 3 letters long. I am, right? 3 letters. I am. I think those I ams are important to us. Like, those I ams are where so much of our identity comes from. They say things like, I'm on varsity, I'm in band, I'm a CFO, I founded a startup. Well, Muhammad Ali was famous for his I am, specifically, I am the greatest. He was also famous, though, for his poems. When Muhammad Ali was at the height of his career in 1975, he was directly between the 2 most important fights he would ever fight. A few months earlier, he had knocked out George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, and a few months later, he would knock out Joe Frazier in the Thrilla in Manila. And doing the press up to these things, he was famous for the poems, these impromptu poems that he would give. You've heard these, right? Like, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, his hands can't hit what his eyes can't see, things like that. When he was between those 2 fights, he was invited to give the commencement at Harvard. And in 1975, sitting in front of that Harvard graduating class, he was looking at the future leaders of the world. And he gave a speech that talked about a whole bunch of things. He talked about the power in that room. He talked about the opportunities they had. He talked about the healing power that they had should they choose to use it. And toward the end of his speech, somebody from the back of the room called out, Ali, give us a poem. And Ali paused for a moment, and he said, me, we. If that isn't nice, I don't know what is. So where does that leave us? I think only here. In a few minutes, you're going to walk across this stage, and you're going to take the first symbolic steps into adulthood. There, you're going to enter a world that school in so many ways is fundamentally unable to prepare you for, and you're going to meet a world in which everybody you meet is just making things up as they go. From that moment on, your life is this like infinite series of branching paths, and each choice leads to new opportunities, new limitations, and new decisions. So my advice? When you come to a fork in the road and you need to choose between doing the easy thing and doing the hard thing, choose the hard thing. When you come to a fork in the road and you need to choose between bolstering your resume and bolstering your obituary, choose your obituary. When you come to a fork in the road and you need to choose between indifference and kindness, choose kindness. And when you come to a fork in the road and you need to choose between me and we, choose we. When Luke Skywalker was training with Yoda on Dagobah, part of the training was to enter into a mysterious cave. Luke's first steps as a Jedi. At one point, Luke asks Yoda what he can expect to find in there, and Yoda tells him, only what you take with you. That's what's waiting out there for you guys. You are surrounded by love today, and you are leaving a school district that has done everything in its power to fill you with skill and confidence and courage and kindness. But ultimately, what's out there is only what you take with you. And someday, I hope you come and see us. And I hope that you and I get to sit down with a cup of coffee, maybe 80 years from now, right? You'll be 98 years old. I'll be 115. And when I ask you how the last 80 years have been, I hope that you think for a long second, and you think of all those paths, and you say, you know what, Mr. Holshoe? If that wasn't nice, I don't know what is. Choose your obituary. Choose the hard thing. Choose kindness. Choose we. I wish you nothing but the best. Congratulations.